Without an apology, I must say this. Believe in me, most of us still don't know how blessed, how wise, and how deep Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has read about the Nigerian system.
Wonderful people, viewers and subscribers, another update don't drop. There's a message trending online, even on Al Jazeera, Mehdi Shehu also play such message on his platform on Saturday. And also some Nigerian media house who now beginning to wake up from their sleeping slumber have already come out now to tell us what Dele Farotimi said in one of the interviews he had with I think Arise TV with that old man that have white beards. He made some exposition about the sit at home, the secret behind sit at home. He exposes a very big secret about that sit at home that even me and you are not aware of. I swear, we are not aware of it. But I would like you to listen to him. Please, if you want this message, share it. Most of us don't even know the meaning of sit at home. Most of us don't even know what it ties. Most of us don't even know what sit at home have achieved for the Biafra as a country. You don't know this, I don't know this. But I would like you to listen to Dele Farotimi through this our brother called the Excellent Media House and TV. Please watch, share, like, and comment. And make sure you follow us on all our social media handles. As you do that, may my God follow you to solve all your problems. Please listen and listen attentively.
Do you know why I said so? Now listen to this. A couple of years ago, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu made a broadcast calling for a voluntary sit at home as a form of protest to the government. And after that broadcast, people obeyed and sat at home. Government lamented, individuals lamented. They all said a whole lot of things that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is trying to cripple the economy of Nigeria. Individuals also made their opinions. But you know what? Surprisingly, till date, most people do not understand what was behind the sit at home in the southeast part of Nigeria.
Yes.
Most people still do not understand or still don't know the reason. Anyway, please, I beg you to stay with me because this is an important update I want to share with you. But before we get to that, I want to remind you something. Oh yes. Do you remember what happened on the 8th of October 2020? You remember? EndSARS protest. Some of us may remember. EndSARS protest started on the 8th of October 2020. I will also ask you one more question. Do you still remember how it ended? It ended by a shooting at the Lekki toll gate. Yes. I hope you remember that. Also, on the 1st of October 2024, people mounted streets protesting for what? Bad economy, hardship in the country. Do I still need to remind you how it ended? People were tear gassed and people were shot. Yes. And that was how it ended. But now, let me ask you another simple and easy question. Just imagine in your head for a second what will happen if the whole Nigerians decide to stay at home for 2 or 3 days.
I swear.
As a form of protest to the government about insecurity, corruption, hard economy. Just imagine what is going to happen in Nigeria if Nigerians agree to stay at home and say, we are not coming out. We want to stay at home for 2 days or 3 days, as the case may be, as a form of protest. What do you think that will happen?
Nnamdi Kanu is a diplomacy human being, I swear.
You see, some of us still don't understand the system of Nigeria. Some of us still don't understand. And that was why a couple of days ago, I had, what's his name? Very Dark Man. I had Very Dark Man talking about somebody calling him out, telling him or asking him why he cannot lead a revolution in Nigeria. And Very Dark Man said that he cannot. When I saw that video, I laughed. Because you know why? I have also heard Sore talk about revolution in Nigeria, and it has been laughed at anytime I see such videos. Revolution might not work in Nigeria. Even if it will work, it will be very, very difficult. Do you know why?
Different ethnic groups.
Now let's go back to EndSARS, because EndSARS was a kind of should I call revolution, but in a small scale. I would say that, right? How 2 things actually ended EndSARS. 2 major things ended EndSARS. One is the shooting at the Lekki toll gate. The second one is that people started looting warehouse where there was rice.
Because there's hunger.
I'm very sure most of you remember that. I'm very sure you remembered it, right? So, for you to lead a revolution in Nigeria with the kind of people you have in Nigeria today, it will hardly work. Hardly. Because why? The government knows how to catch the people. And that is why today in Nigeria, if people complain that there is no light, government will give them rice. Please, let me ask you, wetin concern light and rice? Wetin concern light and the rice?
Okay.
If people complain that, insecurity is happening, government will give them rice. You know why? And the funny thing is that once they collect this rice, they shut up. So tell me how such people can. Do you know what is a revolution? I laugh in China. So I'm telling you that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu read and understood the system of Nigeria. Because if he had called for protest, believe in me, it's going to be bloody. It can't be people from the southeast. Even people from the west, they shot them during NSAS. It can't be people from the southeast. You can imagine how it will be. So we must understand the system. But you know what? In this video, I'm going to play a very short video for you. Our father, Dele Farotimi, has come out to say, Omo, na revolution. And this kind of revolution now is a silent one.
Silent one.
The one everybody stays inside his house.
Yes.
Very similar. In fact, exactly that Mazen Nnamdi has preached. Stay inside. It is called civil disobedience. Police is not going to come to your house and drag you outside. Army is not going to come to your house and drag you outside. Tell you, start going to work. What this in Soludo is doing in Anambra State. But as I said, this video, I'm not calling for anarchy in Nigeria. I'm not calling for sit at home. Of course, this thing I've said, I'm going to play you the video. That is what Dele Farotimi said. I'm just giving you an analysis of what he said. And I try to combine it with what Mazen Nnamdi has said and has done. Of course, in that interview, they also asked Dele Farotimi, but IPOP has tried sit at home. He said yes, they tried it and they succeeded. Apart or except that some, miscreants, took over the journey and scatter things. But apart from that, when he started, that it was successful. He said it. I'm going to play the video for you now. So Nigerians, you see, you know that popular saying that Nigerians are the cause of the problem in Nigeria. It's not the leaders. It's not the leaders. But you know what? The Oyibos, the whites, they are very wise. They know that. Anyway, let me not go far. Let me just allow you to listen to our daddy, Dele Farotimi, what he said about the way forward in Nigeria. Please, I want to beg you, this is very, very important. This is very, very important because he said that, come on, sit at home, sit at home, sit at home. Please, let it not come out from my mouth. But then listen to Dele Farotimi, then you drop your comment in the comment section. What?
There's something else, something invisible, something most people will never know.
This video, please.
There's no point in being silly and then encouraging people to come to the street when we already know that the system is happy to deploy soldiers, murder however many numbers, and completely deny the existence of such killings. So why would I then encourage anyone to go onto the street? But spend the time to educate yourselves. Look, this is the way this thing is going. It's not sustainable. Let us all agree to send a message to our rulers. On Tuesday, sit down at home. If I'm not on the street, who are you going to shoot? If I'm not burning tires, who are you going to accuse of destroying anything?
But the IPOP tried that.
Let's get something clear.
Do you think we're still along the trajectory of that bad idea?
Systems are built with purposes in mind, and purposes are almost always found on ideas. The idea of Nigeria is a very, very bad idea. The idea that undergirds this country, that informed the design of the entire superstructure of governance, is a very bad idea. Nigeria is not found on the idea of citizenship. It is found on the idea of feudalism, the acceptable non-equality of persons who live within the same geographical space. That is why the law does not rule in Nigeria, because it cannot apply to all equally. That is the bad idea that rules Nigeria, that is ruining it. Nigeria is found on the bad idea of feudalism.
So, how do we correct this bad idea, or is it a case of the nation is doomed for failure? Because some people will call you a messenger of doom. If you say we're doomed, are we doomed?
The one thing about the truth is that it has very little respect for the opinions of those to whom it is delivered. What they do with it is entirely up to them. All I have pointed out is the fact that the way we are, our current trajectories, will not deliver anything positive. That is not a message of doom. It is a message demanding that we find redirection and then correct the error that has been pointed out. The antidote to feudalism is citizenship. If we elect to construct a country founded on citizenship, we would have successfully walked away from the madness that has overtaken us. So it's not like we are in a situation where doom is unavoidable. What is making it seemingly unavoidable is the refusal of the Nigerian ruling class to address the problem that has been identified. The belief that they can continue on this unsustainable trajectory and deliver something sustainable. That is why it seems like it's gloom and doom. All Nigeria has to do is yoke the country to the rule of law. If you yoke the country to the rule of law, where the courts become effective, the constitution, as imperfect as it is, begins to reign supreme, we would have begun our journey to sanity. But we cannot continue our current trajectories and then expect that something positive will come out of what is manifestly evil. That is why it might seem like it's gloom and doom. It will be gloom and doom if we do not change
So
our
how do
trajectory.
we begin to change? Because where we are now, some people said, oh, the economy is better than what it used to be. And I asked them the question, the economy as it relates to the macroeconomics, where some statistics have been said to look good, and some accountants or political economists said the numbers are massaged, but whether it's massaged or not, they still seem good. But that's macroeconomics. The man on the street doesn't do macroeconomics because that's not his business. He's only interested in what he eats today and how he takes care of his children and how he will ensure his wife will not die just because of malaria. That's not macroeconomics. That's simple, basic economy. Your thoughts?
I think the greatest error we all make, especially when we are considering Nigeria, is that we assume that the operators of the Nigerian system are unaware of the truth of what they are doing. So we measure what they have done and we say, oh, they failed in this place or they failed in that place. They have not failed. The system is working exactly as it is designed to work. When they point to those figures and they tell you about how well the economy is doing, they are completely correct because what they want to achieve is exactly what they are achieving, the impoverishment of the Nigerian mass. When the people have been rendered completely impoverished, it becomes easy to be donating rice to them as the cure and elixir for all of their problems. So if the people will talk about insecurity, you give them one bag of rice. They'll talk about bad road, you give them one bag of rice. They talk about bad healthcare system, you give them one bag of rice. You talk about all the children who are out of school, you give them another bag of rice. Rice has become the currency and elixir to every Nigerian problem. That is because the system as operated is designed to ensure the full feudalization of the country. And that can only happen when the people are sufficiently impoverished, sufficiently made ignorant. So when you talk about macroeconomics and you then begin to refer to the micro level where the man on the street, who knows how many meals he's able to afford in a month, who knows that he's living in a place that is unfit for human habitation. A man you are paid, you say it's 70,000 naira, that is your minimum wage. The reality is that if that man ignores to file his tax return, the fine is 100,000 naira. A bag of rice will take away more than half of his salary. So you have deliberately pauperized him. It's not as if you don't know what you're doing. Those are deliberate choices. The same government and country that can afford to keep lawmakers in luxury, governors living like pashas, the same country that can choose to build roads without tenders, that can choose to just throw money around like drunken sailor, is ensuring that the opportunity for the people to enrich themselves have been shut down and the process of impoverishment has been weaponized for all. So those numbers and the interpretation that persons in government are giving to it, I think we should take it as their own measurement of the economy. And then we should then take the time to be honest enough with ourselves. Are the people truly better off today or are the people deeper in poverty? Their own figures will suggest we have over 140 million Nigerians living in multi-dimensional poverty and they are clapping for themselves about a good economy.
Okay, so let me then look at it from this perspective. You have described our elections as a hollow ritual at some point.
And the only time you had the hollow rituals. Now you are not even going to have any hollow rituals, don't worry.
So it's not going to be, what would we be expecting to have?
What can you possibly expect? What can you possibly expect? Reality is, you and I have sat in this studio, I believe it was over 2 years ago, closer to 3 years ago, and I told you categorically at the time that there will be no election in 2027. And there is nothing that has happened to suggest that I was off tangent. Everything that has happened up until this point, since 2023, confirmed what I told you at that time. And it wasn't like I was gazing at some crystal ball. All I had to do was look at what happened in 2023. Persons who had no business, even in the elections, not just when you focus on the presidency, you lose sight of the emergence of people like Kpai, who emerged in the Senate in spite of the fact that they were not even qualified to run. They were expressly disqualified by provisions of the Electoral Act. Kpai, Lawan, but they ended up in the Senate, and the courts endorsed it. So you had a situation where our judicial system has become an instrument for working from the question, from the answer to the question. So they do it first, and then they find a way for the judiciary to ratify what is already done. So the judiciary is no longer there to adjudicate based on law and equity. It is there to rationalize what has been done that should never be done. All of a sudden, we don't know the meaning of hand any longer. There are multiple things that have established the complicity of the judiciary in the mess that we found ourselves in. So it's, when you're not talking about election in 2027, you're dealing with a situation where the INEC, the judiciary, everybody is working to ensure seamlessly that there are no viable platforms for anyone to contest elections.
So how do we have a democracy that...
We've never had a democracy. We've only ever had a performative shadow of a democracy. And whatever performative shadows we once had were effectively destroyed in 2023. That was the last pretense at an election.
So you have said the Nigerians are not citizens. And
how can you have citizens in a place not ruled by law?
So if we don't have citizens and you don't have democracy, and your view is that there is no election, it used to be hollow, but now there's not even going to be an election. Again, it brings us down to this point where we say, are we in a situation where we are doomed for failure?
No. See, every nation in the world today once found itself pretty much where we are. That's the point where human beings would have to ask themselves if they still retain the capacity to evolve and find solutions to their existential problems. The existential problem of the Nigerian today is the governance system in Nigeria. the idea of feudalism that denies equality and citizenship to the Nigerian and renders it impossible to have a society governed by law. That is the challenge of the Nigerian, whether they are young or old. We must all recognize the fact that the absence of the rule of law has guaranteed that things will remain where it is the whim of men, not the mere whims of puny men who do not even have the imagination to evolve a better country. Those will be what will continue to rule us until we evolve a system that is anchored to the law. Having identified that, we must now ask ourselves, why has it proven so difficult to evolve such a society, and why has this evil endured for as long as it has endured and would appear to have even been strengthened? Reality is that it is our many divisions, our readiness to be divided on the basis of ethnicity, on the basis of religion, on the basis of even sectarian differences within the same religion, our readiness to be divided by all of those makes it difficult for us to realize the many things that unite us. There is already a commonality of the afflictions. Whatever amount I'm paying for petrol in Lagos is what they will pay in Kaduna. Maybe they will even pay more. In Lewi, all of us are in the same pot. People are finding reasons to tolerate the evil because they find solidarity with parts of the same class that is afflicting all of us. They will remind us of ethnic differences. But when it comes to that place where you see the beneficiaries, nobody is asking the ethnicity of the next man. If you want to see how laughable it is, look at their City Boy movement. Some of the biggest ego boys, they are the prime movers of City Boy movement. And then one idiot, Mukaila in Adekunle, who has barely had a meal to eat today, will be abusing Chinedu. Chinedu will be abusing Adekunle. But the reality is that when it comes to the beneficiaries, nobody is checking their ethnic identity or their religious identities for that matter. So it is when Nigerians come to the understanding of the fact that they need to find common purpose. If your afflictions are the same, why is it so difficult to find common purpose to resolve the problems? Education is comatose in the northwest, southeast, everywhere. The healthcare system is the same, collapsed. Security is the same, collapsed. There is nothing for the common man, regardless of where he is from. One of the most afflicted parts of Nigeria when it comes to insecurity today is Katsina. That was Buhari's home. Now it's become a wasteland of banditry simply because compromises were made. So the man in Katsina is suffering the same banditry that the man in Kwara, in Ogun State, in even Oyo State, everywhere. We are all suffering from the same things, but we are failing to evolve common solutions to common problems.
Okay, before we wrap up this segment, let me bring this to a point where I'm asking, is our problem a systemic problem or something to do with leadership? Because you said what I've heard consistently from so many other people is that if we have the right leaders, the systems will change, solutions will come. But others are saying if we have a system, whoever emerges as leader, they follow the system. So chicken and egg, help me.
It's the system. It is always the system. If it isn't for the system, how come the good governor is the outlier? You have 36 state governors. The only one we talk about when you want to talk about good governance, we all know who that one is. But the minute he leaves that office, nobody is bound to replicate what he had done. Peter Obi was the measure of good governance. He left more than 10 years ago. He's been like 16 years now that he's been out of power. The people who have followed him, have they built on what he did? So you can, by sheer force of your personality, make a difference. But as long as that system that is unmoored to law, that allows the person occupying the office to do as he pleases, as long as that system is sustained, you cannot have good governance. You can have the occasional totem of good governance here, and there are persons who, based on their own conscience, decide to do better. But that is all you have. If they elect not to do the same, if they just want to be like every other person and be swallowing the money and ignoring the people, they'll do it and nothing will happen. A place that is unyoked to law, a system that is built with impunity in mind, is not capable of delivering anything sustainable. So it's the system you need to fix. If the system will hold people accountable, if governors know that the people's vote would count and they need to deliver on their campaign promises, they will do better.
Are you advocating rebellion?
I have been advocating a revolution in Nigeria for over 15 years. I'm not talking about a armed insurrection where people are carrying guns, running riot on the street. But it is surely critically clear to every sentient being who can still think that our current trajectories are not sustainable. Definitely not sustainable. But the beneficiaries of this system have equally shown very clearly that they have no interest whatsoever in changing this system because it works for them. But it is also the duty of those for whom the system does not work. It is their duty to look beyond their multiple contrived divisions to find common purpose. If we can find common purpose, how many are the people holding us down? How many are we? If we all spoke to ourselves across the divides and we decided, okay, let's pass a message to the ruiners of this country. Okay, well, on Tuesday next week, let everybody sit at home. If you went on the street in protest, NSAS has already shown us what the system is capable of doing. There is no point in being silly and then encouraging people to come to the street when we already know that the system is happy to deploy soldiers, murder however many numbers, and completely deny the existence of such killings. So why would I then encourage anyone to go onto the street? But
if you want this message down to this level, and you are still looking where Dele Farotimi or a kind of expose the secret of sit at home, then my brother, you need to go back to school. It is not an abuse, please. It's a compliment. I've already made the whole story clear. The secret to get government now is not by going on the street carrying a placard, but to apply the diplomacy of the only man on earth who said that my people have died enough. That the only way I can put these people to check is let everybody be inside their home. Let me see if it is the road that they're going to rule. So the secret of it, the secret on how to grab a government by their secretum is declare sit at home. And every other thing becomes a history. Anyway, now I go take a break and I go hear my voice again when I come back. The message is very, very clear to them that want to learn and understand the lyrics of life. I still remain your one and only Dele Talk, bringing this information to you. Don't forget, we react to every kind of video, but we don't support violence and we don't preach violence. All we preach here is about love, peace, and unity, and that we shall get, whether the two like it or not.